Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Stardust here. Welcome to episode 4 of Community Voices. Today, I am with the inspirational and motivational Hero Mentor. Hero, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good, man, thank you. So, you are quite open about everything that you've done, in your life, everything you're doing right now. I think that with a lot of other content creators in the Avengers community, they're not as open, I would say, as I've seen you be. So I think it would be almost a disservice to go from personal to Avengers with you. So I think like putting the focus on everything that you've done is going to be way more beneficial to all the listeners. So we will start off with just your general thoughts on Avengers, on its way to launch, at launch, and now.
Totally. So I've been a lifelong Marvel fan. Like,
Mm,
basically the best example of what a fanatic is. Like growing up, the main reason why I've always been a fan of Marvel is I found that their characters are a lot more relatable in the sense of mental health and just everyday struggles. I became immediately attracted to the Hulk, and then I grew in attraction to Spider-Man and then X-Men. X-Men was obviously due to the storyline focus of mutation and just being different. And I don't know if you've seen the movie X-Men First Class, but there's a part where Professor Xavier tells Mystique that people with blue and green eyes, have a sign of mutation. And I'm like, I felt that so relatable because I have a blue and green eye. So I've
mm,
always felt an attraction to their stories and how they tell stories in an inspirational way. And then when they announced the Marvel's Avengers game coming, I was stoked. I was extremely excited because it just felt like a different game that was coming to us and a different experience. And they didn't really have the best startup in regards to marketing because there was a lot of confusion
yeah.
nonetheless with the marketing because I when I initially bought the game, I thought it was a campaign game. I thought it was just a one campaign, maybe do a co-op campaign, and that was it. I had no idea that
Ah.
there like I didn't realize there was gonna be a looting system. I didn't realize there was gonna be a leveling up system. I didn't expect any of that because it was never addressed in the marketing.
Mm,
So that threw me for a loop. So when I got the game, I beat the campaign. I absolutely love the campaign. My favorite part of the campaign was the relationship between Banner and Kamala. I thought that was like extremely well done, and I just loved how they built Kamala up to become the hero that she is as Miss Marvel. So that was really, really well done. And then when I finished the campaign, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I didn't expect this much strategy. And with ADHD and concussions, I was like, this is a lot to take in. I just thought it was going to be a campaign game. And then I had to take a break because I was so overwhelmed with everything that was happening, all the bugs that was happening. And I was like, you know what? In the interest of not becoming someone who hates this game because there's so much negative with it right now, I'm going to take a break from it and
yeah.
play some other games because I'm like, I don't want to be negative Sally about this game and being like, oh, there's just so many bugs, there's just so many bugs, there's just many issues, and just constantly complaining. And I'm a firm believer in wherever you put your energy, it has to benefit you somehow. So I was like, well, I'm not going to put my energy in a negative experience and just complain about it over and over because that makes no sense whatsoever mentally or productively. So I started playing other games, and then Hawkeye came out. No, sorry. First it was Bishop came out, and then Hawkeye, and then I was like, you know what? I want to jump back into it, and I've been hooked ever since then because I took the time to like study what the heck was happening because, like I said, the marketing when they first started marketing Marvel's Avengers had nothing to do with farming and looting and leveling up. So I was like, this is incredible. Like, there's so much to learn, and that basically helped me just no longer focus on the bugs or the issues because I was just having so much fun learning and watching other creators share videos about what they're doing in a sense to help me understand like, oh, okay, so I'm supposed to build up my characters. Got it. Because right now I'm power level 0. and I'm basically useless. Got it. So I basically had an idea as to what we're doing now. So from the get-go, I felt the marketing was very, very confusing.
Mm.
And I understand why. It's because they were going through the California fires, they were going through COVID-19, working from home. Like there were so much hurdles for them to jump that they probably themselves were like, how do we market this game? Because like what's ready, what's not ready, or what needs to be worked on. So I can understand how the marketing was so confusing because the experience that we were all going through was extremely confusing. Because I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone that has ever lived through a global pandemic before. So like
No.
we're like we're all learning through this. So I do appreciate how they've adjusted and adapted.
For sure, yeah. I remember, the marketing leading up to the game was people were complaining very often that it was just a day stuff, so obviously they had a couple of like behind closed curtains, little gameplays and trailers, and then they showed the very same one out to the public, and a lot of it was just, a day, a day, a day. And then, so obviously, when you go to the game, you're expecting this big kind of set piece adventure, which in all fairness, you do get quite a lot in the campaign. But then I would imagine that once you're done with that and you're like, hang on, what's the Avengers initiative? And you go on it and you're seeing like all this going on, I can imagine it would be quite confusing. So did you find in the end that like after you came back and you were looking through, all the gear after learning a little bit, taking some time to study, did you see that, okay, yeah, I like what they've done now? Or was it still sort of like, I would have just preferred it to be a campaign game?
To be straight up honest with you, I was excited because with ADHD, it's very easy to get bored.
Yeah.
And when I saw the gear system and how I can have every hero as an individual and have them have different builds and different focuses, I was intrigued because I felt like every time I turned the game on to play, I had a purpose that was driven by excitement, where it's like, okay, you know what? I want to get Black Widow to this level because I feel like that's where she should be at right now. And then I felt very purposeful every time I played the game, which is something that you definitely want when you want a game that has the focus of being replayable. You're just like, well, I want to be able to turn it on and feel like I have a purpose as opposed to I'm just wasting my time.
Mm.
And I felt with the gear system inclusion, I was like, this is perfect because now I feel like I can switch a hero whenever I want. And then I started realizing the marketplace, and I was like, ooh, I can get more outfits for my characters. I can get takedowns. I can get nameplates, and there's more creation. And people like myself with who are neurodivergent, we love customization and creative ability. Like we love the freedom to just constantly change because we want to be unique. Like I don't want my Miss Marvel to look similar or play similar to yours. Like I
Mm.
want mine to be unique to me. And so that's where I say, you know what, Marvel's Avengers got a lot of bonus points for me. I'm not saying that I'm really attracted to the shirtless Cap because I can't get past the logic behind it or the lack of.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how am I gonna fight aliens with no shirt? Just
Yeah.
I
How
understand it's
does
a
the
game,
shield go on
but
the back?
like I'm just like I have too many questions that make me just say, you know what, I'm not buying this skin. But
Mm.
then when I saw like the Black Widow snow white suit, and I was like, oh geez, this is huge to me. And that's how Marvel's got my attention, and that's how they're keeping it, just allowing me to constantly have ways to make my characters unique.
So obviously, it's not just, gear, but it's also the looks for you when it comes to making your characters unique. So obviously when outfits come out, and obviously this game's had a lot of bad rep over recolors, reuse of assets and stuff like that. Would you say that kind of reusing assets, so we'll say Iron Knight for example, if me and you play, and I'm Iron Knight, and you're the original version of that, obviously just the classic Iron Man suit, does that work the same way, sort of, in regards to the variety, or would it annoy you that they're sort of the same asset but bundled up, if that makes sense?
Okay, so long story short, ADHD is one of the most confusing disorders out there
Yeah.
because a lot of our symptoms contradict one another. So with that comes OCD. And recolors, even though I get the purpose of them, I've never understood paying full price for a recolor.
Yeah, that
It's
makes sense.
just it always bothered me. It's like I got the original, so a recolor is basically a copy and paste of the original. So why am I paying a full price for basically a copy and paste, right? So it that always bothered me where you pay 1,400 points for the Adder Knight, and then they bring out a recolor, and it's also 1,400. It's like, really?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's always bothered me. That's always bothered me because it doesn't make any sense to me that the original is the same price as the copycat. That just it does not make sense to me. So I've always been against it. I That's not to say I don't understand why they do it, because I do understand why they're doing it, because with COVID, they lost a lot of resources. A lot of people are working from home, and if you've used that home internet, you know that when internet cuts out, you're basically pooched. Like you can't do anything. So I couldn't imagine trying to do designing on a professional studio program and your internet cuts in and out. So like I totally get why they're doing it, but that is, understanding that does not mean I agree with it, correct? So it's like
Mm.
I get why, but I don't like it.
For sure.
But the idea of playing as four Iron Men, like you suggested, I dig that idea because the it's all about content, right? Like the amount of photos that you can get from the photo mode, or videos that you can create with the three other players you're playing with as the same character is just it that excites me, because
Yeah.
it's like let's make this gameplay not just beat the mission, get the objectives, but let's get some let's get some good content here. Let's get some good video of like four thunderclaps at one time or
Yeah.
something like that. So that brings a lot of excitement for me.
So, would you say that immersion is quite like a big thing for you in this game? Because obviously you mentioned that shirtless Cap makes no sense, and I agree with you. It really doesn't. It really, like, considering his iconic is stacked to the brim in bulletproof vests, and then all of a sudden there's a skin that comes out that has none of that. It's very much a contradiction to obviously what the Cap in this game is supposed to look like in the eyes of Crystal Dynamics. So, would you say immersion is a big thing for you story wise, gameplay wise, or just one or the other?
Hmm. I would say that my biggest focus for me is just the gameplay.
Yeah.
Cosmetics are nice for individuality, but at the same time, it's like cosmetics can get stale after a while, especially if we're having the same gameplay issues, where it's like you have Roy that's spawning into the red room and staying there. It's kind of like, well, that's annoying. Even though
Yeah.
even though I'm using the brand new White Widow cosmetic, I'm still having issues with bugs. And like I just mentioned, a huge part of my experience with the game is the photo mode. I love the photo mode, and when I'm trying to get a good photo or a catchy photo, I think that will have like great value with it, and there's Roy right there in the middle of it. It's frustrating. So it's like I understand the focus on cosmetics because that's their moneymaker right now, but at the same time, cosmetics can only get you so far until you realize, and like, yeah, I'm using the brand new White Widow skin, but I have all these glitches. I have all these bugs happening, and that to me is where the experience completely changes.
Mm. I can imagine that it would get quite overwhelming even on the later stages with bugs, especially when it comes to missions where, like, say the Mega Hive, for example, right? There's a bug that happens, you get knocked down, Widow's taken out the equation, stuff like that is really annoying. And what it does is it creates negative word of mouth. So if that happens to me, I'm gonna go on Twitter, I'm gonna, speak about how annoying it is. People are gonna see that, they're gonna say the game still has got problems, they'll go to their friends. And I think that, like, believe it or like, you probably would agree with this, the word of mouth would probably make more money than cosmetic items if you are somehow able to get rid of these annoying bugs, because every game's going to have bugs, but that doesn't mean that people should expect them to be there, in my opinion. So, you get rid of the situations like Roy, bless him, in the middle of the red room, and, you get rid of any sort of game breaking bug, and people are going to start talking more positively about the game, which in turn will then mean more cosmetic sales. It's a symbiotic relationship, I would say.
Totally, like people are not going to invest money that they don't find value in.
Exactly.
Every purchase, every purchase that we make as humans is driven by emotion. So it's like I'm not going to invest in a new skin if my overall feeling of the gameplay is terrible. I'm not going to invest it. It's simple psychology, and that's why I feel like right now they're very overwhelmed and where to focus. Like they need to make money, but
Mm.
they need to fix a lot of the bugs, which costs a lot of money because they gotta keep paying the developers and the people that fix these games. So all around, it all comes from money, and that's why I think the whole focus right now is on the marketplace, is because that's their biggest way of getting that income in to be able to pay the staff. And I get that, but at the same time, though, it's like you got to figure out logically here who are going to be the ones that buy the cosmetics? Marvel fans.
Mm.
Okay. What are the cosmetics that these Marvel fans want? They want the content from the 80 years of content you have access to. They like recolors. Okay, like I understand recolors in games that have a low amount of content availability, but when you have 80 years of database to go through and get skin inspirations from, because they always make sure that they always say inspired from the MCU or inspired from the comics, which I get that. But when I see a recolor, because of like characters that are like neon, I'm like, I have zero interest in this
Yeah, where does this
because
come from, sort of
like
thing. Yeah.
like how is this an inspiration from the comics? Like when like I said, the reason I became so attracted to Marvel's Avengers is because of the Marvel label, because of these stories, because of the comics, because of the MCU. Like the MCU is completely different from the comics because they also just take inspirations from, but they're telling their own stories. So you have the MCU fans who are just casual fans that came because of the movies and TV shows. Then you have the diehard fans that read comics their entire life, and they're like, you have all these amazing outfits, and you're showing me a neon Thor
Hmm.
or a neon Iron Man. Or the worst case for me is I'm a huge fan of Hulk. Love the Hulk. And when I'm like, why do I see Hulk wearing neon colors when I've never seen Hulk do that? Because
Yeah.
it goes against his character. Like it's not who he is about. So I completely understand the overwhelming negativity towards the recolors. I completely get it because they're they're not reading the room correctly. Like you are reaching Marvel fans
Hmm.
that have years of attraction and emotional connection to characters. So I completely understand when someone says this is against the Hulk's character because you spent years and money reading the story development, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Hulk's wearing a neon costume. Why? So my simplistic way of saying this is if you have people asking the question why, overwhelmingly, that's a sign to read the room.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, for
that means your
sure.
consumers are like, what are you doing? Like we don't want this. Yeah, maybe you'll sell a couple dozen of the neons, but you can sell a couple hundreds of Gladiator Hulk and just have that one suit. Like I'm a huge fan of Planet Hulk. Love Planet Hulk. So when I saw the Gladiator skin, I was like, hell yeah, this is what I want. But then all of a sudden I saw like five different versions of Ray color. I was like, okay, now I'm bored.
Yeah,
Now
because
you've
it's
taken my
oversaturation.
yeah, like it's just like I don't want and that sounds so entitled, but it's the truth. Like I don't want four different skins of the same skin, just different colors. Like that's a I can't justify that to my family saying, "All right, I spent over $14 each of these skins," and they're like, "Really? They're the same skin, just different
Yeah,
colors."
exactly. Yeah. I can.
So that's why
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand that. I mean, Centurion, the Silver Centurion skin, when that come out for Iron Man, people were so excited because it was really accurate. Like, it was a really good skin. But what ends up happening is because that skin does really well, I'm assuming in statistics, then you see about six other recolors of it, and the value of that skin goes down drastically. Because what's the point in. So, say, for example, the Red Room version of the Centurion armor is basically the same, but obviously with the Black Widow colors over it. So, but it's cheaper than Silver Centurion. So, why would I pay 14 if you're going to devalue it with $900? Not $900, Jesus, 900 credit recolors, because now you're making me not want to buy Silver Centurion because I'll just get the cheaper one. So it's also not even just the fact of like the fans, it also just but it gives you less money because you're devaluing yourself. I think is quite a big
Hmm.
thing. So okay, so obviously Marvel Future Revolution has come out recently, and you've been quite an advocate on Twitter for the customization, and everything like that. What would you say Future Revolution has that Avengers doesn't? And I don't mean that in sort of like an argument sense, because obviously the games have been compared quite a lot. I mean, as in, what could Avengers take from Future Revolution, customization wise, and anything wise that could improve the experience?
Well, the first thing I'll say about Marvel Future Revolution is their marketing was genius.
Mm.
They they got me hooked when they started doing those costume showcases. That was genius because it's like they read the room. They realized that was the biggest complaint that was commonly being expressed with Marvel's Avengers was a lack of customization, a lack of just ability to be creative and unique. And they're like, hey, we see that complaint, so we're gonna base our marketing around that. And I was like, that was genius. Like they had to be hooked as soon as they started showing Captain America's costumes, Spider-Man's, Star-Lord's. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Like I want this game. I even said on Twitter, I'm like, I will pay for this game because just and then when they did the that live presentation and they announced that each character has over 400 million possibilities of customization. I was like, I'm sorry, what? 400 million? And I was like, this game was made for neurodivergent people like myself. Like this game was made for customization, and with that, there's also some downfall, like the overheating of the phone. So it's
Mm.
definitely not a perfect game, and there's no such thing as a perfect game. There's always a way to make the game better. But Marvel Future Revolution, the reason why I'm a huge advocate for it is the same reason why I'm a huge advocate for Future Fight and Strike Force is because it gives me the control to build teams, the control to make my team unique. And they all do it differently. Like Future Fight, they only allow you to have three people on your team, where Strike Force they allow you to have five. And then Future Revolution is you're controlling one person at a time. So like they all do it differently, but they all understand psychology. They all understand that the one thing that makes replayability a huge factor and something that you can achieve is whenever you come back to the game, you have the idea that you can unlock something new. With Marvel's Avengers, I sometimes don't have that feeling because it's a shot in the barrel where it's like you go farming and you're hoping to get a new exotic.
Mm.
You're hoping to get something new. And you're constantly like I feel like your expectations are so high that like I want to get this new gear and you don't get it and you're like, well that wasn't like I just did that entire hive and I got the same exotic again. So
Mm.
that right there, um, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it makes me not want to do a hive again. Where it's like, if I can't be guaranteed to get a gear that I need, then why would I invest the time?
Mm.
Whereas when I'm playing Future Revolution or Future Fight, they tell you exactly what you can win. So you can plan your missions. Like for example, last night I was playing Future Revolution for oh geez, I'm not proud to admit it, but I was playing for like 4 hours last night. Like I was mad hyper focused in that game. And but every time I played a mission, it said you have a chance to win this. And I'd say, okay, well, I need this for Black Widow, so I won't do that mission, but I'll do this mission. And I'm like, oh, okay, that mission tells me exactly what I'm going to get or what I can get, and in that is what I need. So I'm going to play that mission because it gave me the incentive of like I can get what I need. But with Marvel's Avengers, it's literally a shot in the dark, and that has affected me mentally numerous times. Where I say, you know what, I have now done two vaults, I've done a gauntlet level or two, and I have not got what I needed. I'm done. And then I
Mm.
just go and I just do like short missions just to get some CXP. And I think that's a huge issue right now comparatively with Marvel's Avengers and the mobile games is the mobile games tell you what you can get and they line up with what you need. Where Marvel's Avengers is you know what you want, but you have no indicator of how you're going to get it. So you can be like, it can be overwhelming mentally where you're like, okay, I need this one piece of exotic or I need this one piece of gear, but how many missions do I got to do? How much time do I got to invest to just maybe have the chance of getting it? It's like you're going to a casino and you're playing a slot machine, and eventually you're just like, this is, I'm getting no ROI. Like I'm getting no return on investment, and that's huge with consumers. Is if you want me to invest my time and energy into your game, you need to give me some incentive here to make me want to invest into this game. And Marvel's Revolution or Future Revolution has done that, where it's like I feel incentivized to keep playing. Where Marvel's Avengers, there's times where I have the time to play for a couple hours, and I play for maybe a half hour, because I'm like, you know what? I've done this mission now 16 times in 2 days, and I'm still not getting what I need.
Mm. Well, I've had that sort of similar problem with the last Avenger Standing mission. Even now that it's fixed, because we had a bit of a break from it because it had a bug. For people who don't know, the last Avenger Standing mission, the 14th floor hive, had a bug where you got to about floor 12 and the enemies didn't spawn. But that was fixed recently, hopefully for everyone. But I've seen reports otherwise, but for me specifically it's been okay. So I've been grinding it for a scattershot Kate Bishop piece. Now I finally managed to get that piece last night. However, instead of it being scattershot with a status effect, it was explosive arrows. Now,
I think I saw that on
yeah,
Twitter.
I put heartbroken at the top. So what
Yes.
what you've done is you've put the reward in my face, but for some reason everything else is perfect, but that middle one you've just ruined it for me. So it's kind of like giving me gold, but the gold's got like one little thing wrong with it, so it's valueless, and I have to just get rid of it. You know what? And that's the sort of that's such a sort of sigh experience because you've come so far, you've gotten the correct piece out of four potential options. You know, the stats are correct, everything seems good, and then it's that one thing that just completely devalues it. And that makes me not want to do Last Avenger Standing again, as you've mentioned as well, you know, because there's so much RNG and so much the game isn't telling me, it just kind of, you know, it's not fun to have to go through 14 floors of hives to potentially get that gear again, to maybe be told once again, oh, it's Pim with razor arrows instead of scattershot. It's that's not what I want, you know, and it's a big problem with a lot of this game where, you know, you really are playing it pretty I don't want to use this term, but very zombified almost, because obviously with the lack of challenge at the moment, when you get to end game stages, you're powerful enough to just go through it with ease, and you're, you know, in looking for gear. It's really not fun in this game if you want to find a specific piece. You know, you either farm for snowy tundra, you do the mega hives. That's about it. Because realistically, Tachyon Rifts don't have a high enough percentage for exotics, so to me they're very undesirable. So you got that, then you've got an unrepeatable style event, or events in this case now, and it's just kind of, you know, what is there to grind, what is there to have fun with, you know, like for example when Omega level threats come out, you know, if you don't tell us, you know, the sort of stuff we can get in it, at least make that the best things we can get, at least make it so that, you know, if I pick up a chest piece for Iron Man, it will be really good for one of the specific builds in the game. You know, where instead of just
Hmm.
proficiency, intensity, and resilience, or random stats like that. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that this game has gameplay wise, because, you know, and then after things like that, after you don't get the loot piece you want, after you're feeling a bit sort of heartbroken about it, you know, you'll go through the game in such a negative mindset that everything annoys you. A bug that usually you'd be able to go, whatever, would really tick you off because you're feeling almost betrayed by the game system, and I think that's something it really has going against it.
No, I totally agree because when you invest that much energy and that much time just to be let down, and it doesn't happen just once, it happens daily. Of course, naturally, you're going to be like, I'm done. Like, I'm frustrated. I don't know what to do. Like, for example, what mission was I doing? I forget what the mission I was doing, but I had to restart the checkpoint 3 times.
Mm.
And I'm just like, and the reason why I had to restart the checkpoint, oh, it was our town. The reason why I had to restart the checkpoint 3 times is because like as soon as you start the level of our town, there's a chest right in front of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had to defeat all the, you have to defeat all those enemies, or then you have to do the triggering of the open the door. So I was trying to do the triggering of the open door on the floor panels that you step on and they initiate, but they were not initiating. I tried the whole dodge system where you sometimes if you dodge on them, that will
Yeah.
trigger that wasn't working. So I had to restart, fight the enemies again, go back, still wasn't working. Restart, fight the enemies, go back, still wasn't working, and I literally shut the game off. I was like, this is the psychology of video gaming. Okay, we all have stressors in our life. We all have parts in our life day to day that we don't want to do. But the one thing that we really want to do is play games and have fun. That
Yeah.
is like our focus when we go to game. If I feel as if my gaming experience is now a chore or it's a task, I'm going to break away from it because, and this is not just like a neurodivergent thing. This is a neurotypical thing too, because you want an ROI. You want to know that I'm going to invest this time, invest my energy to get something out of it. For example, one of the things that they changed in the Marvel's Avengers, just to make it more positive right now, is when you sell your gear, or not sell, but dismantle your gear, they give you more modules now.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Do you know why that's awesome? Because it gives me something towards my build. It gives me an excitement of, okay, I sold this. Now I got 2 modules or 3 modules sometimes. And if you sell an exotic, it gives you like 10 sometimes. So I was like, this is awesome because now I feel like I'm making progress. But then that progress is defeated when you go to do, like, I've never done the Last Man Standing or Last Avenger Standing, sorry, because of that glitch. I refuse to put my energy or time into something that I know is going to break on me.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, the only missions I really ever do now is I do vaults once in a while, but they take forever. And that's like, to use the vault as a piggyback here, that's a great example because you have all the chests in the map, and then you have 4 chests in the area where the vault is. And still, with all those chests, I can get gear I don't need.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
how is it? How is it I have basically 11 or 12 chests and I still can't get what I need? It's like, it's just when you have that much risk and that least amount of reward, it's going to naturally make you deter from playing the game. And that's why I think a lot of people judge it and belittle it and are disgusted with it because they're like, we want a game that we can have fun playing with every time we play because I don't want to come home from work or had a bad day with the kids or anything that's stressing all day and then sit down and play Avengers and have more stress. Like, no one wants that. Like, games are meant to be decompressing. They're meant to be like, I'm going to chill. I'm going
For
to play some
sure. Yeah.
Avengers and have some fun. But last night's experience when I had to restart the checkpoint 3 times, and then at the end of the level, when I was promised a rare or legendary gear, and I got nothing of the sort, I was like, well, that was a waste of my time. And that took about an hour. And I was like, so I just lost an hour of my day, and now I'm frustrated more so. And
It,
then that's when I started playing Future Revolution for 4 hours.
well, I mean, what a better way to spend your day, that's for sure. I think
Oh,
after.
so to give you insight, in that 1 hour of Marvel's Avengers on console, I had no gear that I needed. I spent 4 hours on Future Revolution. The reason why is I was getting new gear on average every 25 minutes.
Yeah,
That's how crazy
it's
it
for
is.
sure. It's like a gambling sort of. It's a healthy gambling addiction. I think looters and games with gear and stuff like that are. If it feeds you enough but doesn't overfeed you to the point you're god tier in power, that's a kind of a nice trade-off. I'll give you a lot more time if every so often you pass me a gear piece that'll make me feel like my time's worth it. I think every looter's, I think most looters are pretty good at doing that. I think Avengers is still just kind of struggling with that. Um,
100%.
would you say that, have you played other looters in the past? So, games like Destiny, Division, stuff like that. Would you say that, those games do something similar to Future Revolution? Because I'm quite unexperienced with other looter games.
No, I actually avoided looter games because for the same reason I avoid gambling. I don't like investing my time with the risk of not getting anything in return.
Mm.
So I absolutely cringed every time I heard about Destiny or any of those other loot games. And then Fortnite, like my son, who's also ADHD, he's like sometimes he was so frustrated with Fortnite because he'd hit a chest and get like a small pistol. And
Yeah.
he'd hit a second chest and get maybe a different pistol, but a little bit more powerful. And he's like, "What the heck?" He's like, so people who are neurodivergent, we don't like gambling, or some of us do because if you win once, so the biggest struggle right now with ADHD is we have struggles creating what's called dopamine, which is like your reward drug or your reward chemical in your brain. So with that struggle already being there, we use gaming as a way to get dopamine. And so Future Revolution gives me dopamine hits every half hour. I unlock a new gear. I unlock new consumables. It gives me that ROI. Whereas in Marvel's Avengers, I have that natural deterrence of doing hives or gauntlets because it's like, I don't want to gamble. I don't want to invest all that time just to get no reward. My buddy and I was playing Avengers for his first time, and he was frustrated. He's like, "Okay, so what you're telling me is whenever I play this game, there's no guarantee I'm going to get what I need." And I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "I don't like that." He's like, "A video game should not be like a job to me without pay." And he's like, "That's how I feel right now." He's like, "I feel like I'm doing a job for free." And I was like, I cannot argue with that. I legit cannot
Mm.
sit there and say, well, actually, my buddy of mine, this is a counter to that argument. There's no counter because as a loyal gamer myself with marbles, I realize the struggle is real, and it's getting to the point where you're probably noticing this yourself as well, following me on Twitter, that most of my tweets now are in regards to Future Fight, Strike Force, and Future Revolution
Yeah. I
because
sorry, I cut you off.
no, it's all good. It's all good. It's just I play games to decompress. I play games to live dreams and fantasies and to feel as if I'm just having fun. And Marvel's Avengers lately has not been feeling like that. It's been feeling like a grind that I'm not getting paid for, and that's the worst feeling is when you invest so much time for nothing. So how do we fix that? The only thing I can think of is implement the same system that Future Revolution has, where it tells you what you can win in this mission, but make it so it's character specific. Because that way, if you're trying to build Black Widow, or for example, your situation with the scatter shot, I believe it's a scatter shot, right?
Yep, you're right.
Yeah. So so you knew what you needed, and the game should know what you need because it's pre-designed to be like, this is your options to create this character. So you should be able to pick what you want, especially okay, so like especially with a Mega Hive where it's 14 levels, the gamers should have control to pick what they win.
For sure. Yeah.
100%. They should give you 5 gears or 5 exotics that you get, and you can pick which one you receive
Ah, like
if you complete.
Outriders style, because Outriders does something very similar where if you complete one of the missions, it will come up with three options, and it'll
Exactly.
tell you the stats. You'll get to actually look at the gun itself and stuff like that. Yeah, that sounds like a brilliant idea. Actually, I really like that one. I think
Just think of
that's
it like just think of it as you're applying for a job, and you see that the starting wage for one job is 15, starting wage for another one is 16, and then one's for 17. Which one are you going to try to get the most? The $17 one. You feel incentivized, you feel motivated because it pays you more. So if I'm doing a 14 level hive, which how long do you think that would take you?
uh,
About an hour?
without sounding arrogant, probably half an hour, but on average,
Okay,
most
so
of
half an hour.
yeah.
Let's say you're new to the game and you're trying to understand the system here and you're trying to determine if this game is really worth your time, and you do a 14 level hive, and because you're a new player, it takes you an hour, and you get an exotic that you're just like, wow, I didn't need this. Or the worst case scenario, which I know this happens to a lot of people because I see it all the time, is you get the exact same gear
Yeah,
And that is the worst way to treat a consumer, is where you put them through 14 levels, give them exotic, they take it, they repeat the same thing a week later because of refresh, and you give them the exact same exotic. It's like, wow. So what I feel like they should do is they should study psychology and realize, okay, people want ROI. People want to know that their energy and their time is respected. So what we're going to do is we're going to give on a 14 level mega hive, we're going to give you 5 options. On a gauntlet, we'll give you 3. The harder the level or the more commitment needed should have a bigger reward, because that incentivizes people to give the energy and the commitment to do it. Like when I see, so let's say they patch that in. Let's say they say, you know what, we heard Hero Mentor and we heard Stardust, we're going to do this. So let's say next Thursday, or next Tuesday on the patch day, they say level 14 hives, you will get 5 options to pick from. That will probably make a lot of people happy, because they
for
feel
sure.
like they're in control of their destiny here. Like they're in control of, I get my ROI, just like when you go to a job, you get your hourly wage for committing to that hour. You need to make people feel as if they're gaining something from the experience. Otherwise, what happens is we feel like we're losing and we stop. And there's a lot of people I see on Twitter saying that they're done with Avengers now. Like they're done because they're just fed up with being just investing so much time with little return. And that's the most frustrating experience I have with Avengers, is I feel like I'm investing time and it's not paying off.
For
I'm
sure.
still struggling finding gear. And that's why the whole gear system and the whole randomization of it, I don't think it's going to work long term. I don't see you and I playing this game for 2 more years if this is how it's going to stay.
So, do you think that Gear 2.0, which they've confirmed is going to kind of be more of a build up than one massive patch, do you think that Gear 2.0 has that sort of, the I'm not sure how to explain it, the theory in mind of what you've mentioned of, give players the choice, but we'll give you the job to work for that choice, if that makes sense? Or do you think that their idea is we'll keep it the way it is in theory, it'll just look better and the rewards might be stronger?
Man, I know this is going to probably frustrate the team because it means a lot of work, but they got to revamp the system completely.
Mm.
Because um, if you notice, I haven't streamed lately. The reason why I haven't streamed is A, my branding. I want to change around, but B, I just don't have that motivation to stream Avengers and have my community watch me grind with no reward. Because here's the thing, like let's say one of the viewers that pops into my community and watches my stream for the first time, they're watching someone play Avengers and they notice, wow, I just watched Hero Mentor do a vault and get nothing. They're not gonna want to play the game. They're
Yeah.
gonna be like, that's a waste of time. Like I don't want to do that, because it's like I said a while back, gaming is meant to be decompressing. It's meant to be fun. It's not meant to feel like a chore. So when I see Lejeune or you or FK or revealing and saying, "All right, today I'm grinding," that doesn't excite me. Why are we grinding? Like we should be grinding in our real life, like our jobs and our making our dreams come true and self care and family and friends. Like that is where we should be putting all of that like hustle and attitude towards. But when I see people say, "All right, today I'm going to grind for exotics," I'm like, that doesn't sound exciting to me.
Mm.
That sounds like I'm going to be going to watch you do a job with no reward.
Would you say
And
that? Oh, sorry, I cut you off again.
it's okay.
uh,
It happens all the time. I'm the same way. Like I will interrupt you not because I'm a jerk, but because I don't want to forget what I'm going to say. That's why if I interrupt you, that's why I do it.
to
Like
be
I need
honest,
to say this now before I will forget. I will forget.
my memory is quite bad, to be honest. So I'll try to make a point that I was meant to say 10 minutes ago, and I'll be like, hang on a minute, and it'll just be one of them. It'll be a very long until I can eventually remember it. So would you
Got it. I'm the same way.
would you say that a lot of the problems you've mentioned as well is because you've been put off by looters anyway? Would you say that someone who's more into looters like a Lejeune, like an FK, who played games before Avengers like DC Universe Online, Marvel Heroes, etc., would you say that for them the reason they're into the grind is just because for them that is their comfort? It is their kind of relaxation to just go through a mission, over and over, somewhat might be a bit tedious to a lot of other people, but for others, eventually getting that RNG to work in your favor would, be worth it in the end. Because I'd imagine that for people who aren't into looters, or not originally anyway, it probably looks like a very weird thing. Like you mentioned, work for nothing. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? But in the end, that slight little upgrade of a gear piece is essentially hitting the lottery for a lot of looter fans. And I think that, so obviously I have problems with the looters I've mentioned with the scattershot situation, but I've been in a lot of places where I've needed a targeted buff for Iron Man with precision. And I've done it, and I've managed to get 5 stars, targeted buff, missiles, precision and resolve, and I'll be honest, I screamed like a little girl because I ended up getting it, right? So, and that to me feels like, yeah, there's obviously problems with the loot. I'm pretty sure everyone can agree with that. I mean, they agree with it. That's why they're doing 2.0. But would you say that it's definitely maybe too looter heavy then? I think would be a fair comment to make. Probably too niche of a market that they're trying to hit with looter fans, when they could realistically, given the fact it's Marvel, open the doors very wider than what they have done and do something you suggested. Because I really like your idea of being able to choose options and things like that. But I think that potentially their idea in mind at the moment was, a typical looter idea of just a lot of RNG, but what that does is that makes the game quite a niche, makes it only a small market kind of game. If a child who realistically wants to play a Marvel game gets on, they're not going to know anything about gear, and to be honest, I'd imagine they'd get bored if someone tried to explain it to them. Like my little nephew was watching me play the other day, and his excitement was, like, when I threw Mjolnir, my word, and when I brought it back, it was a mind explode. But as soon as I start looking through the gear menu, he's looking at me like, "What's going on? Why aren't you fighting robots again? What are you doing?" And that's obviously that's quite a put off, looking at all these numbers and wording on the gear and stuff like that. And the campaign being so strong, and obviously the Avengers initiative not being as strong, I think that a lot of people's suggestion of this was probably meant to be campaign and that's it until the other stuff got added on probably reigns quite true. I imagine it was quite a shock for Crystal Dynamics to be told, who are known for Tomb Raider, that they're going to be making a looter game.
Probably, like, if you think of Fortnite started off with the Save the World game mode.
Wow.
Like that was their main focus, and then all of a sudden they went to the battle royale system, and they changed the gaming dynamic like completely. And they have such a beautiful, I'm gonna say this like right now off the record. I do not play Fortnite. I do not like Fortnite. However, I respect what they're doing. Like, they're making millions per day because they're constantly giving their users investment rewards. They're like, hey, you have invested in us for many, many hours. Here's cosmetics. Here's this for you. Here's that for you. In regards to the Marvel's Avengers, though, you made a good point, because my son, who's 13, him and I are playing Avengers together, and he's, like I said, he's also ADHD as well, and he was getting frustrated. He's like, all right, so we fight some robots. Awesome. That was so much fun to see the hammer in action and the shield. Yeah. And then he's like, oh, now I got to stop and look at gear and then read statistics. No kid wants to be doing math.
Yeah, well, that's true.
They don't want to be like, they don't want to be like, okay, so I lose 27% heroics, but I gain 4% melee, and then I lose 13% range, and then I gain 1% defensive. They're not going to be, they don't care about that. The only thing they want, and you gotta understand, like, you're marketing to Marvel, which is huge right now for young kids. Huge. My son, or my best friend's son, bought Marvel's Avengers with his birthday money, and he loves the campaign. He's turning 10. But my friend who played Marvel's Avengers with me with the looting system, he's like, my son's not going to like this. this is not what he wants. He wants like just nonstop action. And when my son and I are playing, my son Jacob's like, okay, so now we fought robots. Now we gotta look at my yes, come over here. There's a chest. He's like, but there's bad guys over here. He's like, why would I want to go look at a chest when I'm not going to be guaranteed anything? But I can go fight bad guys and still get some experience points that gives me skill points. And he's like, I want to focus on skill points, not the gear. And I was like, that's a great way to look at it too, where it's like skill points are an immediate dopamine for you. Like when I see you've been leveled up to level 13, that gets me excited just as much as getting a good gear. But you get skill points faster than you get the gear. So like I think Marvel's Avengers has now hit the roof where they're like, oh geez, now we're separating gamers. Like now we're giving gamers, we're forcing them to go into this loot system. We're not giving the option of you don't need to do looting. You can just have fun and fight people and still improve your character. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they should like maybe they should implement using skill points as a way to increase gear. That would be kind of cool. Let's say my son goes through a mission and he gets 1,200 skill points. He can use that towards leveling up his skill, or he can use some of his points towards leveling up his gear. So
Mm.
that way there's like that. That way there's that mixture of you can fight robots and not feel like because I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes vaults take me an hour to complete because it's stop and go. Fight, vault. Oh, sorry. Fight, chest, DNA, chest, fight. Hit the vault. I'm like, holy cow, this is so tedious. Whereas if I could just be like, I don't want to do looting. I just want to go and get skill points. That could be an idea too, where it's like you can use your skill points to unlock gear certain ways. I don't know. It's just right now I feel like Marvel's Avengers is separating gamers as opposed to bring them all in and giving them all a good experience. Like they're just focusing on looting. Whereas people who don't like looters but they love Avengers, they're like, well, I feel as if I'm separated now.
Mm.
Like I play the campaign, I'm done. Well, there's no replayability there. So
I
people are paying for the campaign. They're not paying for the loot. Like I said, when I finished the campaign, I didn't play the game for a while because I was like, I don't want to be doing looting because, like I said, I never like looting games because I don't like gambling. I don't like putting my time in and being told there's a chance you may not win. No, thank you.
yeah, there's a
Like
chance.
if I put this time in, if
Yeah,
I put time in for 14 levels, I better get something I need.
for
Otherwise,
sure.
why am I doing it? Why am I doing this? Like, why am I saying to my family, hey kids, hey fiance, I'm gonna go do a 14 level high that can take me a half hour and then come out miserable. Sorry guys, that was a waste of my time. I didn't get anything. Like no one wants that. We want to win. Like gaming is where we should be like we are winning more than losing.
No, I totally understand that. I mean, that's a sort of symptom with a couple of games anyway. Like for people who play games like Warzone, like Fortnite, battle royales, where it's very much like I could dive in straight away, get shot even before I've hit the floor,
Yep,
and that is so for me. I can't stand battle royales, which is obviously quite an unpopular
exactly. I'm the
opinion
same way.
nowadays. And so I'll load in. It takes a bit of time to load in, which is fine. There's a bunch of players. I get it. You go in straight away. You don't get given 5 minutes to even look at where you're at, and you could die. And because of that whole insta death, gonna have to reload again. I have this pure anxiety and adrenaline whenever I get into a fight because I'm so desperate not to die. But that's not fun. I don't want to almost have a heart attack every time I bump into someone. I want to be able to just be, like in Call of Duty, just typical Call of Duty, not Warzone. It's very easy to just run around the map like a madman. And
Yep, Rambo it.
if you kill someone, cool. If you die a bunch of times, if you're not try harding, it's whatever. But then again, you get things like kill death ratio, which some people are really bothered about. Some people take games quite seriously, and I think that obviously you can enjoy games however you want. I think that but like you mentioned, if it gets to a point where you're playing video games, and it's not even just Avengers, like I mentioned, the kill death ratio and Call of Duty, if you're bothered about stuff like that, it's going to get to a point where you're almost afraid to play because you don't want to wreck your, KD. Whereas if you think of it as just, it is literally a number on a screen, go. Call of Duty can give you the option to do something like that, whereas a game like Avengers you have to care what's on the screen. If you don't, you'll lose very badly. You know, like a lot of the Monica boss fight, a lot of what I was witnessing was I don't have a range build for Cap, so I can't win this. I have to hide behind pillars, and then I get one shot in if I don't. And I think that that is, quite disappointing because it's quite a good boss fight and the scenery's really good, and obviously you've got the ending tease as well. It's something that's really good for the game that not everyone's going to be able to play because of the mechanics of gear and stuff like that. Them going, okay, you can play as Black Panther day one, you play as any of the story content day one, but the rest of the gear the game is based on the loot inside of it. It's good that you're doing that and giving people options, but you're pulling people away the moment the stories are done. You're pulling a great chunk, like probably 75% of the player base you had at launch, gone again because they're back to what they left for in the first place. And that's a common symptom for a lot of these kind of games. Like I'd imagine Division 2, for example, a lot of people, or Division 1, a lot of people ran through the campaign, got to the end, and then uninstalled, sold it to their retails, and that was it, and then bought the next game, which and I totally understand that. Again, looters are so niche, it's the weirdest thing in the world, and I think that a lot of people would have preferred this game if it was in similar vein to Spider-Man, where it was one and done, and completely focused on just the already building up that really good combat already, and you've got all these beautiful Marvel locales and so on. So I think that this game's definitely got an uphill battle. So minus gear, what else would you say this game would have to change to be a complete powerhouse in the public eye? A No Man's Sky style redemption.
Oh, geez, No Man's Sky. I remember that game. My son wanted that game so bad until I told my son, like, the best thing about games is to watch Twitch, and he's like, "What?" I'm like, "There's a new game out. Watch some people play it on live stream. That's the best critic you'll ever have, is because you get to watch them play it and make your own decisions." So he watched a couple of No Man's Sky streams, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm good." I was like, "That's the best way to review games, is to watch people play it live." But anyway, in regards to your question, to make this a blockbuster hit, like I want to feel as if my time invested is worth my time invested. That's it. Make me feel as if I can get what I need. Make me feel as if I can buy a good cosmetic, and then if there's a recolor, maybe don't give it to me for free, but don't charge me 1,400 virtual currency for it. Don't charge me even 900. But so it's like, don't make it so blatant that you're out for money, is what I'm trying to say. Is
Yeah.
Don't make it so obvious you want my money. Make it whereas you earn my money, where you get my money because I want to give it to you. That's where mobile games basically don't do well, is the whole pay to win system. So please don't do that. Don't be like, hey, if you pay $63, you can increase your stats by 100%. No, thank you. I'm not doing that. Like as soon as I saw that tweet in regards to Captain America and Future Revolution, I was like, that's shady. Don't do that. I'm glad they're not doing that. I'm glad that they're not allowing the cosmetics to have effect on your stats. I do like the comic system, which I think is really cool. How you can like collect comics and they influence your stats. That's pretty damn cool, but here's where that comic system bites them in the rear end. That makes you want to have those comic outfits more in the game now. Like when I unlock a comic or I find a comic and I see the cover and I see Black Widow wearing a wicked skin, and then I'm like, I want that skin. So if you're gonna show me a skin on that cover in your game, you better release that skin for me. Because, like, can you imagine if you unlock a comic that had like a beautiful Black Widow outfit, and then all of a sudden a week later they release a neon outfit? You're like, really? Like, you just showed me You just showed me a beautiful outfit on the comic I unlocked. Why can't I unlock a skin like that?
Well, it's
Why is it
funny.
I can't get that?
It's funny you mention that because obviously there's generations comics in the game showing Kate Bishop
Correct?
and Clint in the completely 100% comic classic Hawkeye outfits, whereas there's a
Yep.
generation skin of Kate in the game, which is a recolor of a young Avenger outfit, I believe.
Angry, right? Angry.
Uh,
Angry. Like,
and
why are you going to show me a beautiful
yeah,
costume and then make me pay for one that's a recolor that has nothing to do with the costume you just saw? Like, so basically, what I'm trying to say is any comic that you have that's unlockable, you better have a skin that's relatable to that comic.
for sure, for sure.
Because like it's a shot in the it's a kick to the gut where it's like, oh, I just unlocked a wicked Hawkeye, and look at that old school Hawkeye outfit, and then you go look at Hawkeye's outfit, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
that's right, I have like these RoboCop looking outfits. Why?
And I think that I think that another thing with this game as well, that, and this is one of my only criticisms, well, not my only, but one of the criticisms I have with the presentation of the game that can't change unless they just make a new one. But it's I always thought when I was playing this game that it didn't feel like I was living in a comic book universe or a superhero one. It doesn't look colorful enough. You know what I mean? Like, it's when I look at the outfits and I even look at Ultimate Cap, but classic Cap, it, to me, you should have gone all out with the goofy. Like the cheesiness of it. The boots, for example, you could make the I'm not sure what it's called. It's like the flaps on top of his boots that
Yep.
peel over. You could make them look ridiculous, but instead you've made them look like normal boots, like realistic to what someone would wear, but then you've given him the wings at the top, and it's like, go all out. This is a superhero comic book video game where we're not expecting blood or anything over the top, so you can open the door to that cheesy ridiculousness, and it's still optional at the end of the day. It's all optional cosmetics. So if we choose to look ridiculous for the sake of accuracy, let us do it. Let us have the
100%.
choice.
Like the reason why comics are so successful in regards to like movie adaptations and TV adaptations now is because it allows you as the consumer to use your imagination and just break free from that everyday stress.
Mm.
It's like okay, so I see a lot of heat in regards to Fast and the Furious. Okay, everyone's like, "Oh my God, these movies are so unbelievable." I'm like, "That's why they're so good." Fast and the Furious movies are so good because it's all about escapism. It's all about just escaping the reality and the constructs and the limitations that we have with society, and just watching a movie give you just unrealistic stunts that just make you go, "That was awesome." Like the idea of Transformers and Fast and the Furious having a movie together sounds so stupid, but at the same time it sounds so awesome because it's goofy, it's childish, and we all miss being children. Like let's be honest, like we're adults that just wish that we could have more fun like we were as a kid. So let's do that. Like with these costumes with Marvel's Avengers, have fun with them. Bring back the goofy costumes from the comics. I guarantee you, if you bring back a silly costume for Captain America, it will sell
Yeah.
because people are attracted to it. Like it reminds them. Like for example, one of the goofiest outfits in the Spider-Man game on PS4 was the Fantastic Four one with the paper bag over his head.
Yeah.
But I freaking loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it. You know why I loved it? Because I had an emotional attachment to it where it's like, I remember that in the comics. That was a stupid storyline, but it was so good at the same time. So when I saw that suit, I was like, I'm getting that. And the best part was it was free for me.
Yeah, you just got
I
you
didn't have
just
to pay.
all you had to
I
do
just
was update
unlocked
the
it through
game.
gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which like that's the best system. I like the looting system is good for a small percentage of people. But for overall experience, for people like myself that don't like gambling or don't like being guaranteed to get something as a return, it doesn't work for me. And I think that that's why I love the game. I absolutely love the game, but there is a lot of changes that need to happen in order for it to grow. Like my goal would be to have it where every day, concurrently, the Marvel Avengers channel on Twitch has 1,000 viewers. That's my goal. And that should be the goal of Crystal Dynamics too. Is how do we get more people not only playing the game, but watching the game. Well, first of all, you got to respect the people that have been consuming the game and listen to what we're saying, because we're trying to tell you what will bring in new viewers. Because like you said, word of mouth is the best referral process, because over, the usual game plan for businesses, sorry, because I ran three, is 80% of your referrals is word of mouth. 80%.
Mm.
Save your money on marketing. Save your money on commercials, because it's word of mouth. It's social media tweets. It's statuses. It's YouTube videos. That is the best way to get new viewers. And right now, Marvel's Avengers is not successful in that, because there's a lot of hate right now. A lot of hate. A lot of it is nitpicking. For example, Captain America's star not being straight up. Who cares? Like, who cares? It doesn't bother me. You know why it doesn't bother me? Because I'm not paying attention to the star on the damn shield. I'm paying attention to the robots as I'm throwing the shield at them. Like,
I
I don't
think
I don't care.
thing is, like, as I totally agree with you. I think that, as you mentioned, you don't want to put your energy into something, not get anything back, so it makes you feel negative. A lot of the people that complain about stuff like that have stayed with the game, even though they've got that negative energy
Exactly.
from it. So, and as I mentioned, earlier, like, something as like a bug where you can go, all right, whatever, I'll report it and just keep playing. It would really
Yep.
annoy, because it's you've been burnt so much that you're just frustrated, and you look at a skin like that and you think to yourself, oh great, another problem, and it builds up. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people complain about, say, Cap's star, or the color of his trousers, or stuff like
Or
that.
no shirt.
Or no shirt, yep. Too horny, apparently, according to some websites.
Yeah.
um
I saw that article. I was like, "What are you writing?"
it was awful. It was something about, like, getting the hots for Peely in Fortnite. I was like, how did this get approved? Who's
Oh, geez. So here's the psychology. Okay, I wrote a tweet about this a while ago about how thoughts work, and you may have saw it, you may have not seen it, but when we think of something, our body responds via chemical known as emotions. And the problem with this is, if you're consistently thinking negatively, your body is consistently is creating negative emotions. And what people don't realize is your body can get addicted to those emotions. And that's why some people are not happy unless they're complaining, because their body's like, I need some more negative energy. I need some more negative emotions. So they're constantly looking for that, because that's what their body wants. And that's why I'm a firm believer in, I don't go on Twitter or social media and complain. I don't, because it's not that I don't have my complaints. It's just that I don't want to get in that personality trait where I'm just negative all the time,
yeah
because I lived that life for 15 years with my depression and my suicidal ideation. Like, when I lived a life of 15 years of just being depressed and bitter and aggressive and confrontational and just overall a jerk, it's like you have a different mindset now. When you get over that, you're like, I don't want to invest in any negativity. So it's not that, like, I want everyone to know that my Twitter is always positive. It's not because I don't have any negatives or any complaints. It's that I use that energy and I put it towards good use, where it's like, I will DM a developer and say, hey, this is, something I just saw, this is an idea. Or I'll put a tweet saying, hey, Marvel, this, I love the game. However, like, it's called a compliment sandwich. Okay. So you give a compliment, and then you give the constructive criticism, and then you give another compliment. So you say, hey, Marvel, I'm loving the new module system where I dismantle gear to get more modules. However, I am not really enjoying this experience, but at the same time, I really love this. That will, it's a good balance, right? For every negative, you should have two positives. That way you don't get into that negative mindset. And, like, you've seen it on Twitter. I've seen it on Twitter, where there's accounts that are just dedicated to negativity. And it's like, how can you live with yourself knowing that everything you do is negative and trolling and just being a
yeah
jerk? Where
I
it's like, you need to take a step back and be like, hey, how's this affecting my long-term psychology, my long-term mental health? It's not good for you.
I th- I
You gotta have
think
that balance.
I think as well is that it must be quite like miserable to have the reputation of, oh no, here comes this person, the negative person that I'm not really in up to speaking to. So there's obviously this, well, I won't be naming any names, but there's a lot of people here in this community that are known to be kind of negative, known to always say bad things. There's no compliment sandwich there. It's negative, negative, then negative at the bottom. And what that does is that kind of puts people off wanting a conversation, because
Hundred percent.
there is no open door there for a good conversation, because your mind is set. It's negative or nothing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so I
sorry, I cut you off.
no, no worries. So, for example, I made a point the other day when everyone was talking about hair, because there were so many people trying to prove that
Oh,
person
jeez.
wrong from each side, right? So, if someone wanted Widow's hair to be accurate, someone was trying to explain why they're right for believing that it shouldn't change, and vice versa. And my point was, it's pure taste. Pure taste. But if there's an overwhelmingly an overwhelming part of the community that would rather that change, it makes business sense to go with the majority, and that's kind of it. That's why I always say, conversations are fine, but don't try and tell someone they're wrong if they like it or dislike it. And I don't want to name drop this person because I keep doing it for an example, but I'm sure she won't mind. But Sadistic Kitten obviously posted about the Black Widow hair, very upset, very gutted, every right to be, completely. Didn't even need to explain it as well as she did, but she still did. And a lot. There was, she had to mention, this is my opinion, my choice. Please read the room. Don't tell me I'm wrong. And it's a shame she had to do that, because I'm sure there was people ready, like, well, actually, the reason it's
Yep.
like this, and it's she doesn't care. She's upset, and that's all it is. Like, for example, I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so if No Way Home comes out and I really dislike it, but everyone loves it, like 99.99% of the world loves it, and I'm the one person who doesn't, I want to go on my own personal platform, say I dislike it for these reasons, and be allowed to be openly upset about it. And that's not to, same as we'll go back to Kitten. Kitten obviously not trying to put anyone down. If you like it, cool. I really don't. Here's why. It's just, I think people, because of the community being so small, because we know everyone, people take negativity and positivity quite personally, depending on how much energy you put into different things. So, as we mentioned, putting your stuff in negative energy, feeling negative all the time, any positivity you see gets retorted to shills, this, that, the other, because not everyone's feeling the way you are. And it's kind of that, I don't want to say jealousy, but it's a bit sort of like, how can you enjoy something when I really hate it? And same vice versa. And I think that's a big problem in this community at the moment.
Oh, I agree. It's a matter of psychology. So right now, society, especially Western culture, because Western culture is so focused on individualism, is the problem is people don't want to discuss. They want to prove why they're right and why you're wrong. So when you enter a conversation of this is my belief versus this is your belief, and our goal is to prove each other wrong, it's going to go nowhere. It has no benefit for anyone involved or anyone who's watching you guys fight. And that's the thing with Twitter is I can see when these debates happen, and I'm like, you guys are both wrong right now. And the reason why you're both wrong is because you're both coming at this very egotistically, where you're like, I'm right, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. And it's like, this is why my favorite quote is that I teach kids as a mentor when I was doing it, but as a speaker, I say it all the time is legacy over ego. 100%. If you make your life chasing your ego and feeding your ego, you're going to tarnish your legacy. You're going to be constantly changing who you are. You're not going to, you're going to lose who you are. You're going to be so emotionally invested and so insecure with anything you say because you're trying to make yourself better, as opposed to saying, you know what? Sadistic doesn't like the hair. I personally don't care either way, but I see how emotional she is with this. I want to figure out why. We don't take the time to understand each other, Stardust. That's the problem. We don't take time to understand why does this mean so much to Sadistic. It's because that's the only character she plays. She cosplays Black Widow. She loves Black Widow. That's why she cares. Okay, so if I take a second and be like, okay, you know what? I personally don't care because I don't have an emotional attachment. It's like I said to you at the beginning of this podcast,
Yeah.
we invest in where we find value. Well, Sadistic finds value in her hair. She finds value in it looking the same. Awesome. I'm not in a position to be like, oh, you're wrong. How the heck could I go tell someone else you're wrong for having your feelings? Like that is so invalidating and dismissive. Like I see it all the time, Stardust. Like I see someone putting a comment about, for example, it happened to me. I said I'm very excited to see Black Widow, and out of nowhere, this person who I've never engaged with or talked with says, "Yeah, well, they don't do a good Taskmaster," and I'm like, "Who are you? Like,
Yeah,
why are you on
exactly.
my Twitter bringing in negative energy when I don't like? There's no, hey, my name is so and so. Nice to meet you. Can I please share my opinion? It's, hey, you're wrong. And it's like, dude, I've never met you. I don't know who you are. And that's why for so long on my old Twitter account, I had it private because I was like, as someone who has ADHD, I'm very emotional in the sense that I feel emotions very strongly. So when someone comes to my page and they bring that negative energy, it's like, whoa, who are you and who hurt you?
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
why are you so bothered by this? Like, why are you so like I've had a couple of troll accounts that are so like we are Taskmaster and we love Taskmaster and he's the best, and it's like that's awesome. But like their biggest complaint was the Black Widow Taskmaster is not the real Taskmaster. I'm like, who cares? It's a fictional character. Who cares? Like, it's a fictional character that can be changed, and whenever there's a different writer or a different artist, they can change the character. For example, the Joker has no origin story because the creators didn't want him to have one, which means every Joker we've seen portrayed is good for different reasons. But no, no, no. Like we have to have the Heath Ledger is better than Jared Leto. And it's like why? Why? And it's like, how emotionally invested are you into these fictional characters that when someone says, you know what, Stardust, I don't like this, and it really offends me that you do. Why is that such a big issue? So like when that person who is a test master stan, I DM him saying, what's wrong? Like why are you so offended by me being okay with the portrayal of Taskmaster? And he's like, well, he's my favorite character. I'm like, okay, but that doesn't give you a warrant to come to my page and give me heat.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? I'm like, social media is such a powerful resource, and when you use it correctly or even incorrectly, it directly influences your life. So it's like I always tell people all the time, the way you behave on social media does influence your character, it does influence your thoughts. So if you're going to be a jerk all day, I'm going to automatically assume this is how you are in real life. Like this is it, and it's embarrassing. Like in regards to our community here, I understand we can't always be positive. However, when we do need to be negative, just be respectful about it. Understand that we're still people. We're all fans. We all have our different, likes and dislikes, but we're still people. And you could honestly affect someone's mental health with one tweet. So just be kind with your disapprovals or your disagreements. Like when I watch the dev lives, I feel so sorry for Andy, Phil, and Layla because it's like
Yeah.
people attack, and it's like really people like they're people, guys. Like they have their own families, they have their own mental health. So it's just in order for our community to get better and for us to hit that 1,000 concurrent viewership on Twitch is it all starts within. So right now, what I think is happening is a lot of people are turning away from Marvel's Avengers not only because of the game, but also because of the community. It's toxic. It's starting to grow slowly, and people don't want to be around that. There's like people. I guarantee you, maybe sometimes once in a while you will put a tweet, but you won't send it because you're like, I really don't want the backlash of this, or I don't want to be attacked.
Yeah.
Like so, hesitational tweets are like I do it too. Like I'll put a tweet about. I'm like, should I put that out there and be prepared for that negative energy? I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that, and that's not cool. Like we should not be filtering ourselves out of fear of being attacked. Like that right there in itself is a huge sign that the community is becoming toxic, and no one wants that. We all have our disagreements. We all have our issues with the game, but long story short, like if we just respectfully air it, it's more productive. Like I've been seeing a lot of tweets from certain people about like this color is wrong, and then all of a sudden it turns to like 100 comment thread of
Yeah.
like just fighting. And my number one thing is, guys, you're fighting over a fictional character.
It
Like
it's
Stop and think.
it's very much, and I think you're completely right. I think that the problem is that we've put certain people on the in this community on a pedestal when we're all exactly the same. But people's opinions on the matter, especially on the more negative side, I've noticed, get more attention because you've got people who obviously dislike the fact this person hates what's going on, and you've got people in the replies that are egging this person on, like, yes, F the machine style, like, F the system, break it down, like they're the voice of the voiceless kind of CM Punk style attitude, right? And what it does is it eggs that person on to then come out with something new, and it's a growth of attention through a really venomous sort of means. And I think that there's a good couple of people in the community as well that had that sort of that sort of thing of, okay, I'll dislike something, but I'll do it in respect. If I like something, I like something, and I put a thought across, I put a thought across. But what you notice is this community rewards very negative behavior. So,
Yep.
for example, and I'll never mention names, but if the shoe fits, right? It's because that's all I can really say about it. So if anyone thinks that I'm talking about them, I'm not. But if the shoe fits, there you go.
Wear it.
So, if for example, there's so many content creators in this community, like Hyruler, Sonic Photo, yourself, etc., that aren't at the very top because there's no feeding off negativity that you've noticed. But a lot of other content creators who are very negative, known for it even, they have a lot of support because there's a lot of people spending a lot of negative energy and they want to support the person that feels the same way they do. It's very easy to be influenced by anger than it is by happiness. So if I'm feeling really annoyed or frustrated about something and I see a positive tweet, but a couple of years ago, I probably would have been like, yeah, whatever, shut up. But but you learn that that they're not you, so you've got to make your own opinion, make your own thoughts. But because there's people in this community put on pedestals, and there's quite a lot of young people in this community, it's a Marvel community at the end of the day, so it's even easier. And I think that that's where you see a lot of the troll accounts pop up, a lot of these groups designated to stop the shills and stuff like that, because it's just one big anger pool and it bounces off each other and it satisfies them. And it's a shame that this community's gotten to a point where I'm afraid to put out an opinion about, I don't know. I mean, for example, I dislike the volcano skins. I've not seen many people
Oh my
who
gosh,
do.
I agree with you.
I, I,
And
that, I have never spoken this harsh about anything this game has done, but I actually hate them. Like, in a hateful way. Like, I look at them and I just, like, I want to puke. That's no disrespect to the costume designer either, because it's not a personal attack. It's just pure taste. I really dislike them. So I won't buy them, and I won't look at them, and I won't even contemplate it. I might make a joke here or there, but I will never go on Twitter and I'll be like, this sucks. Because I've seen people say that the guy, the team that designs the costume should be fired. Like, what an awful,
Jesus.
a real thing. What an awful thing to say. Like, I don't like the volcano skins, but I'm not going to wish someone out of a job, because there's other skins in this game that people probably enjoy. And it's more just, all you got to do is put your thoughts across on it. We don't like this. And then you can adapt that way. But people are so quick to extremes because it gets the most attention. And it's just a shame that it's that sort of relationship in this community.
It's not the fault of the community. It's overall society right now. Like when you have people like like the Paul brothers and the Kardashians, like those are our role models, if you will, for a lot of people. Like society is negatively driven right now. Like drama sells. People love drama, and it's just like, holy cow, it's an overall societal problem. And the only way we can change it is by paying attention to how we speak. Like, it's not hard to say, you know what, guys, I personally don't like the lava skins. However, props for trying something new. You've said your opinion, you said it respectfully, and you still give props. You're just like, you know what,
Yeah,
I don't like it, but props for trying something different. I like that idea where it's like it's something different. Now, is it something I like? No. Is it something that I can go and threaten someone's job for? Of course not. Like, there was a viral tweet that I read where a person was in front of a game developer's house and said something along the lines of "Screw this game up again! Screw this game up again! I dare you!" So the person issued a death threat to a developer in front of his house over a video game.
my word.
Um, One of the reasons why I heard Cyberpunk 2077 was released so fast is because a lot of developers were getting death threats. So they pushed the game out fast because of that. I'm like, that is disgusting. And that's why I wrote a tweet a while back saying, I don't care how emotional you are in regards to not approving something, you don't have the warrant to attack someone personally for it. It's disgusting behavior. It's not welcome in society as a whole, and it's all ego driven. So like I said, chase your legacy over your ego. Like, how do you want to be remembered? Do you honestly want to be remembered as a guy or the girl that issued a death threat over a video game? No. So don't do it. Just focus on your legacy. Focus on who you want to become, how you want to be remembered. And that's why I say that my social media is family and mental health friendly, because that's exactly how I want to be remembered. Because anything we do has influence on what we think and who we become. So like I said, I have my negatives outlooks on this community and this game, but I'm always going to share it in a way that is respectful and productive, because that benefits everybody. Like, I tell people all the time in Twitter is, if you go to those game dev presentations like we have today, and you're yelling and you're swearing and you're wondering why you're being ignored, that's why you're being ignored. Like,
No,
like
you're
it's
not wrong.
you're being ignored because of your behavior. So like, if I go in there and I say, "Hey Andy, I love the concept of you guys trying new things, but personally I don't like the lava skin." And he'd be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, thanks, hero." There's a reason why he's called me out twice on two separate streams. Is because I go in there and I make them feel as if they're appreciated, even though I have my negative opinions. I still appreciate what they're doing.
Yeah, for
And that's the
sure.
thing where you can still be against something but still appreciate the effort. So like, if you guys want to be shouted out more on the dev stream, just be freaking polite. Like,
Yeah, well,
that's it's
yeah,
not hard.
exactly. Yeah, like
Like,
I've seen, I obviously stream alongside the dev streams, and sometimes I'll leave the chat open, and I'll be
oh, that's
reading.
dangerous.
Yeah, I know, right? I'll be reading. I'll be, especially, considering a lot of some of the things people can say. I've had a few high stardusts in that chat while I've been, and I was like, oh, wait, no, hold on, you're supposed to be over here with me. What are you doing? No, but there's quite a few cases where people are trying to scream and shout like, you did this to the game, this, that, and the other, and it's kind of like, these are dev streams where you've got a great chance to get one of your questions answered as long as you're respectful about it. They might not, because they just can't, but they might acknowledge that you've at least tried it, so that they know that's a question the community have. But instead, you're wasting the time shouting at a point that, what's it going to change? What is going to happen if someone acknowledges someone's really horrible comment? Like, just make them feel bad, and if that's what you want, then that's a very sad way to live, in my opinion. And I think that, as someone who's played games with Andy, not even just Avengers, I know how Andy on dev streams is incredibly similar, pretty much the same, really. That in real life, well, not real life, but behind the dev persona, not persona, you know what I mean. um,
I do.
and and it makes me sad seeing people attack, again, real life people. These guys aren't trying to do lip service. They really want this game to be great, because if it's great, then, well, I mean, it means, more money for the companies. It means more people are happy. It means, Crystal Dynamics don't have to climb a mountain next time they reveal their next game, right? Because obviously one game's reputation will affect the rest of your games forever, right? If they leave
Mm-hmm.
Avengers today, no one's going to buy the next Tomb Raider because they don't trust you anymore. So you have to this game and they want it to be a success. So I think that when I see stuff like that, it makes me very upset to see that it's almost expected at this point for this community to come out with really negative comments in these dev streams.
Most definitely. Like when I saw Andy share his amazing poster in Pride Month,
Mm.
I love this post. It's so powerful. It's so real. But I was like, but I'm scared to read the comments
Yeah, and the
because I
comments,
know,
yeah.
like,
So
I know there's gonna be somewhere it's like, oh, we're so proud of you, and I love that. But I know there's gonna be one where it says, yeah, well, that's great, but what about the game? It's like,
yeah, and they were there.
uh,
They were there
yep.
as perfectly timed, perfectly expected. They were there, and it's just so it's so gutting that. And the thing is,
Embarrassing.
I've asked for these sort of voices to come on here to sort of talk normally, sort of without the power of a keyboard, right? And obviously, Lord and behold, a lot of those people don't, because they don't want to not be combated, because that would never be the idea, but just kind of like a public space for me to just go, are you okay? Because they don't want that. They don't want to feel sort of exposed, because then the facade's up. Because I doubt that these people are as angry as it makes it seem, but it gets the most likes, it gets the most clicks, it gets the most, yeah, cheers from that sort of side of the community. So, unfortunately, until that kind of changes and there's a new meta in the community, that will kind of remain, I think.
Oh, most definitely, because their version of dopamine is likes. So they're so insecure that they will become this negative villain to try to get more likes. And it's like I taught my son, I was like, before he started using social media, I was like,
Yeah.
you will never use social media as a way to get confidence, because you never will. Social media is not meant to be a tool to gain confidence. It's meant to be a tool to megaphone who you are. So if you're on social media and you're making negative comments as a way to just to get more likes, just do yourself a favor, take a step back, reevaluate, and just be like, why am I so angry? Why am I so insecure? Why am I doing this to my legacy, and why am I feeding my ego? Because it's a huge red flag to me, because a lot of the kids that I mentored in the past, they battled with insecurity and with lack of self-esteem, and they were using social media as a way to try to gain that confidence. But the best piece of advice I can give is happy people don't bring people down. Like, we lift people up. Like, if you can always tell by who's happy and who's unhappy. And I also put a tweet a while back saying we all make decisions based on one of two things. It sounds corny, but it's so psychologically true. Is we do things with either to show love or to ask for it. So if you're
Mm.
someone that's always being negative, to me that suggests you need attention, you need love, you need support, you need happiness in your life. If you're someone out there that's constantly putting out positivity, that means that you just want to spread it. So social media, I'm not going to blame it for anything. Social media cannot be blamed because it's not a person, it's a resource. And when you go to social media, you use it as a way to megaphone who you are. So if you're a negative, toxic person, you're going to make social media a negative and toxic environment. But if you're a positive person, you're going to just megaphone that. And the problem is a lot of people are hurting right now. And I've always said when I do my speaking appearances is that we will never have world peace until we have inner peace. People are hurting right now. Like, they're miserable, they're angry, they're depressed, they're stressed, they're burnt out, and they just megaphone it on social media. And it's like, that's not how you solve that problem. So if you're one of the people within the Play Avengers community that is just constantly spewing and spreading negativity, just take a step back and be like, okay, am I chasing my legacy, or am I feeding my ego? And then you need to evaluate the causation. Why are you so angry? That's why I ask people all the time, like, what's wrong? It's not like
Mm.
I'm being condescending or I'm being arrogant. It's because I'm genuinely concerned with, like, what is going on? Like, what happened that made you feel this negative is the way to go. And the reason why I asked that question is because no one asked that question to me for 15 years when I was dealing with my depression and my darkness. And as soon as as soon as I went to brain injury rehab in 2011 because of my 15th concussion, and my psychologist said, "Dave, what's wrong?" And I was like, wow, that simple question, it just made me feel like I mattered. So it's like, be prepared. If you guys come to my social media and you bring hate, I'm going to ask you what's wrong. And it's not because I'm trying to be condescending or rude. It's because I genuinely like, what's going on, man? Like, you have a chance to spread positivity and be happy, and you're choosing to be negative. So it's just I'm all about mental health. And it's like when I see people that are doing behaviors that is so risky towards their mental health, whether or not if I know them, I'm going to ask them, like, are you okay?
Mm.
So the fact that you're inviting people on to be like, hey, are you okay? Is a huge act towards generosity, because it's like that is such a simple gesture that can help someone in a difficult situation. And so whenever I see these negative comments, I don't go, oh my God, this guy's a loser or this person's a fool. I say, man, what is wrong with this person? Like, what hurt them? Like, why are they so default negative? Like talk to us. Let's build a community where we go, we all want the same thing. We all want a good quality of life. And right now, if you're hesitant, or if I'm hesitant to share a tweet because of being attacked, that's not a good thing.
No.
That's anxiety. That's anxiety right there, and we don't need that. So I love the game. I have my issues with the game. I love the community. I love the community regardless of the trolls that we have and the toxic people we have, because they themselves need help too. Like, I had the pleasure of mentoring 3 males who were bullies, and that's what I developed. One of my favorite quotes is, "A villain can be prevented through understanding." And so the fact that I was able to understand these 3 kids and help them become a hero as opposed to being the villain made me realize that, holy cow, it just takes time to understand people. And that's why I will always, like, if you look at every villain backstory, like Thanos and Killmonger, there's parts of their story where you're like, I understand them. I get why they're angry.
Yeah, yeah. There's
And that's why I tell people all the time. I'm like, through understanding, a villain can be prevented.
Well, I mean, that's literally the story of the Joker film, right? Like,
Exactly.
literally, it's like that is how to explain a movie in a sentence. Like, and and I won't spoil it for anyone, but if you haven't watched it, please do. It's so good,
So good.
so good.
Being a
Like,
mental health advocate, it's such a beautiful movie.
it's for me, it's just it's. I have never been able to find a fault in it in like the 6 times I've watched it. And at
My,
one time, I even tried because I was like, "This can't be perfect. There has to be something wrong with it." And
has to be.
so I went through, and I was like, "There's not a thing I dislike here." And I was I just
Ugh.
it was crazy, but no, well, see, here's the thing. I'll be honest. We've been going on for let me check. So about
An hour and
an
39.
so this is already the longest episode, and I want
Sorry,
to.
I can talk. I love
No,
talking.
it's not. That's not a problem at all. But my thing is like I want to really go through all your personal stuff. Your you speaking, talking about the
We can do
wrestling
a part
stuff that you've
two.
mentioned. Yeah, that's I was actually about to propose, and I wanted to go through all that stuff. So if you are more than okay doing a part two, then like I'm more than
Let's do it.
happy for that. So before we do go, I want to make a point just to kind of explain, like in this community, in my opinion, as long as you want to be, there is no one too big to be just friends with everyone, right? So someone went onto High Roller's Discord, tagged myself and High Roller, and said, like, it's crazy that you guys are acknowledging me because I watched your podcast and so on and so forth. And I replied to him. I said, to be honest, as long as you're nice to me, I'm just a friend. Like, I'm just someone you can just talk to. Like, I'm just here chilling on Discord along with everyone else. If anything, everyone bullies me in High Roller on there. So it's so I mean, if anything, you guys are higher than we are. So
Jeez.
and at the end of the day, as long as you're willing to have a talk with anyone, this community could be something that's really close, a really well knit, bonded community that can come with some fantastic ideas that can help this game. They can help, make suggestions for any of the Marvel, media that comes out in the future, and it's one that we could really cherish, rather than thrive off negativity, rather than thrive off complete positivity. Even as long as there's just
Mm-hmm.
a neutral head and a clear mind, and you're not blaming anyone for any of the game's shortcomings, and you have a fair solution as to, I think they could fix this with this, like you've been doing literally for the entire time we've been on the podcast today. Um, but the thing is, it's like you've said, I don't really like this. I don't feel like I'm getting rewarded for it. But here's a suggestion, and I love the suggestion. I really like it. Like, I've never thought of that before. So now I'm gonna come off this podcast and I'm gonna be like, that's a really, really good idea. Like, now I'm gonna want to, on dev streams, be like, hey guys, have you ever thought about, and then I'll literally copy paste your idea because when you speak to people in a like a proper, polite, respectful way, you get new ideas and you get new hopes, and it makes the game even more desirable. Because when you play a looter, when you play games like this, the big thing is the community side of it. Because games like this that last for a while can't survive very well if the community is on a tight thread. And every time I have a good conversation on Community Voices, on Discords, I'm like, wow, I really want to get on this game again, because I now feel
Mm-hmm.
motivated, because there's so many people behind the game who aren't developers that have these brilliant ideas, like yourself, like we mentioned there, that I'm just like, wow, I want to see if I can play the game, pick up anything, maybe write a few notes, see if there's anything that I can do to put some value into the community. And I think that that's really important. And it's a complete amazing thing that one of your goals is to see 1,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch for Avengers, because it's not like I want 1,000 views. You just want it in the category, which just shows
Correct.
how selfless, and how just a great voice of positivity you are for the community. So even though
Like,
so
sorry to cut you off, but
yeah.
um, it's why like my streaming schedule is so sporadic, because I don't want to stream at the same time as other creators, because it's like I don't want them, like I don't want the community to feel you have to pick and choose who you watch at certain times.
Mm.
So like, let's say FK is streaming or Revealing is streaming, I won't stream because it's like I don't want the community to feel divided. Where it's like, well, okay, Hero's live now. I'm gonna leave Revealing and go watch Hero. It's like I don't want that feeling. So I'm trying to find the best time for me to stream that doesn't conflict with Revealing. Do you stream? I've never seen you go live.
I stream on YouTube.
On YouTube, that's the problem. Okay, yeah, because I'm more into Twitch, so that's why I usually don't see your lives. So that makes sense. I was like, I've never seen Stardust on Twitch.
Yeah,
That makes
I
sense
I
now.
used to. I used to. Like for
Gotcha. Okay.
so I'm not sure if, because like, forgive my ignorance if this isn't the case, but I've only noticed you quite recently very vocal in the community and so on. So when did you start streaming the game and being sort of very more active in the community? Like, has that been recent, or have you been at it for quite a while?
So the truth is, I lost my gym permanently because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then I lost a wrestling school that I was coaching with. I Because we closed down twice. So I was like, okay, this is not working. I got to fix something else. So I was just like, you know what? I love gaming. I love Marvel. But the truth be told, I lost a lot of appearances and gigs in regards to my speaking, and I miss it. Like, I love public speaking and speaking at schools. And I was like, okay, I need to find a medium that allows me to add value in that way. So what I did was, and it's so strategic, because I was like, I'm gonna do this properly for the first time. Because with ADHD, it's so like I'm so impulsive. But I was like, no, 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 I gotta be smart with this. So what I did was I just did market research. I spent 3 weeks just visiting games I liked, and I was like, I love Marvel's Avengers, so I'm gonna follow that channel. So I followed it, And I just go into people's streams, say, "Hey, I'm Hero Mentor. How's it going? Love the stream, love the overlay, love how you look. Love the game, having fun." And I just built all those communities, or sorry, I
Mm.
built all the friendships within that community for 3 weeks. That's all I did. I just researched, I studied people, I profiled people, and I said, okay, because we'll definitely talk about this on part two, but I did a lot of security and bodyguard work for 8 years. And during that 8 year stretch, I learned so much about psychology and behavioral analysis and profiling. So I was like, I'm going to use this skill and just find the, positive people, befriend them, and just build a network up that way. So that's what I did for 3 weeks. And then I went live, and within, I think it was my fourth stream, I hit affiliate status. And
Nice.
I was getting messages like, Dave, how did you get here? Hero, how did you get affiliates so fast? I was like, I took my time. I built a network, I built a community. So when I went live, I believe my first live, I had, I think it was 13 concurrent viewers. And I was like, okay, cool. I did this right. So I started streaming because I lost my avenue for public speaking. And that's why I was like, right from the get-go, I'm like, my streams will have a mental health check-in for the first 10, 20 minutes of the stream. We'll just talk about mental health and hang out and do some advice and whatever. And then we'll start gaming because I told some people in chat, I was like, streaming is more than streaming. Like sometimes people don't go to the stream because of the game you're playing. They're going because of the streamer. I was like, so my goal is whenever I stream is to add value. So when you leave my stream, you leave knowing something different, or you leave thinking differently, or
Mm.
you leave with just with something more powerful than talking about Avengers. Like my last stream, we talked about so much. We talked about BDSM, like like the conversation gets so randomized because people are just like, oh, I can come to Hero. I think it's actually really important that we discuss my name because there's a lot of confusion with it. So is
Cool.
that
Yeah.
cool if we discuss that
Absolutely.
really quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
as I said, I was a former youth mentor for 9 years, and I mentored over 30 plus kids, and it was the best time because it helped me heal as well. But one situation was I was mentoring a youth, and we're having a session where we're just talking, and he said my real name, which is Dave. He's like, Dave, you're like a hero mentor. He's like, you helped me find my hero. And when he said that, it just immediately stuck with me. I was like, hero mentor. So that's why my name's Hero Mentor. Is just it doesn't mean I'm going to come to your stream and mentor you, because I get that all the time when I say, "Hey guys," they're like, "Oh, Hero Mentor, you here to mentor me to be a hero?" I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. It
I
must
was like,
a lot of
okay.
pressure there. I don't know what to do now.
So then, I'll say like a fancy quote as a funny joke. Like one guy jumped in his stream. He's like, "Oh, hero mentor, give me some heroic advice." And I was like, "Okay, you don't need to be great to start, but starting is great." He's like, "Oh." I'm
Wow.
like, "There you
Wait.
go."
Yeah. It wasn't
Um,
expecting like an actual answer or anything like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
and then I explained my story, and he's like, "Oh, that's wicked." So that's my name, and that's the reason why I have it. It's not because it's a fancy term that just works. It's because a kid I was mentoring called me that, and it was so personal to me. And then another youth I was mentoring, her name is Morgan. We're best friends to this day, and she's getting married. I'm actually going to her wedding because she lives in the States. But she drew me a picture saying, "Dave, you're my hero." And it was a picture of a world with a cape on it. And I was like, this is my success measurement right here. So I don't measure my success on concurrent viewers or any of that stuff. It's all on impact and value.
Mm.
So like if you message me, like let's say you message me later on this evening saying, you know what, Hero, that was such an empowering conversation. I learned so much. That to me is success, as opposed to saying, all right, Hero, here's $200 for your time. I'm like, no, no, thank you. But when you say like you're like talking to you helped me so much, it's like that is success to me, not views and not subscriptions. Like it's how I make you feel once our conversation is over. So when you come to my streams, I'm hoping we can talk about anything that's appropriate, obviously, but you leave with that like, wow, like I feel more empowered to do something, or I feel my life has more value. Like one of my favorite things to tell people all the time is no matter how severe or big your struggle is, it does not diminish how much worth you have. So like you could be going through depression, alcoholism, does not matter. You still have value, you still have worth. And I want Andy, Layla, and Phil them all to know that as well, because they get so much heat where it's like, guys, you get so much heat during these developmental calls or streams that just know that your value is still there. Like, we still value you. Like, there's more support than there is the trolls. I promise you that. I promise you that, because people like yourself, myself, and Carrot Scraps and Suki and FK and Revealing, like there's so many of us where and personally, another reason why I started streaming was it helped me with my mental illness. Like,
Hmm.
knowing that I'm gonna go streaming and people like FK and Revealing and Suki are gonna come in and just say hi to me and say, "Hey, Hero, how are you doing?" Like, that right there helps me so much mentally. Where it's like, I remember the 3 streams ago, I was going through what I call a depression episode, where I was dealing with like imposter syndrome or intrusive thoughts, and I was like, how can I overcome this? Like, sometimes the battles are so strong and so difficult, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go stream, and it helped me so much knowing I've had no hate, Stardust, on my streams. I've had a couple of trolls that come in with the stupid D's nuts jokes, but I've never had someone come on and say, "Hero, you're a loser," or "This game is trash." I've never had that, and you know why I've never had that? Because I've created an ecosystem where people just know, like, Hero Mentor is positivity, but it's not toxic positivity. It's like, I know not to bring hate towards Hero because, well, A, I can handle it. I've been tested for AIDS twice. I've been stabbed. I've had guns pulled on me. So it's like, I've dealt with so much serious situations that trolling me is so minor to me.
Hmm.
So people are like, oh, that's a waste of my time. I'm not going to go to Hero's chat because that's a waste of time. It is, because I don't give warning, Stardust. I don't believe in this whole, okay, you get one warning. No, I don't believe in it, because I believe when you have a warning system and you allow warnings, you allow behavior to happen once, and that's too many times. So that way people come to my chat, they know, like, oh, if someone comes in the chat and they're committing sexual abuse or harassment, they're going to be banned right away. Like, there's no warnings with me,
Yeah,
because I feel
it's
like we don't need it. Like, why do you need to be warned of how to behave when you're supposed to be 13 and up? Like, it makes no sense to me. No warnings on my channel. Instant ban. Just so you know. And it's not because I hate you. It's because I want my stuff to be very family and mental health friendly. And your chat is part of your channel. So if you have issues consistently with negativity and trolling, that's on you as a streamer. Where it's like, you got to take control of your community and your chat, right? Same thing with you on YouTube. It's like, whoa, people come into your chat and they see how toxic it is. That they're gonna come after you and say, "Hey, Stardust, why is your chat so toxic? Why is nothing to be done about it?"
yeah,
Or just, take control of your ecosystem, be polite, and like, let's have fun, because, like you said, and you and I both agree, it's all about community. It's all about community. A community can make or break a game. So if you want the game to succeed, then be part of that solution. Stop being part of the problem, because I want to see Marvel's Avengers Twitch channel or category 1,000 viewers at a time, because that to me shows everyone's growing, everyone's benefiting, and same with YouTube. I don't know how YouTube works in regards to channels or statistics, but hopefully, do you know how that works on YouTube?
I
Like when you stream on YouTube Marvel, you're part of the Marvel Avengers category, correct?
yeah, we have a category. Yeah.
Okay, so let's make it a goal. Okay, YouTube and Twitch, we will get to 1,000 concurrent viewers eventually, but it begins with the community. That way, we all succeed, and the people who deserve to succeed succeed. So that's my goal with the community.
Well, there we go. That's a very, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's a very selfless goal. It's a very much like, community based, and that's exactly the way it should be. So with
Avengers Assemble, damn
Avengers Assemble,
it!
baby, it's literally the end of Endgame to end Part One. That's very poetic.
Yes, part two will be coming for sure. Part two will be definitely a therapist session for me,
I
to be
think
honest, because
I was yeah. Part two is definitely
I'm
going to
very
be.
open. I'm very open.
So, for anyone who obviously wanted to hear Hero Mental's thoughts on the game and the community, this was definitely the part for you. Part two, I want to talk about things like your logo. So, obviously, I know how important that is to you. Talk about, your you speaking background, professional wrestling a little bit. That conversation will be very fun. I'm really looking forward to
Right?
that bit. That's going to be
Like,
really
when I
cool.
saw your name, I immediately thought of Cody Rhodes.
and it's well, I mean, ironically, it wasn't that. Like, I'll mention this story before we finish. So basically, that name came from before, because I wanted to join the Avengers Discord, but my Discord name used to be Dank Memes and Wet Dreams, and I thought I can't go on.
Oh my god!
I can't go on an Avengers Discord that.
Who hurt you with that name?
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why I chose that name. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to think of a new one. So then, because I was thinking, obviously, of the current name I had, I was like, oh, my friend used to have a Reddit, secret Reddit designed for God, I really hope right, over 18 stuff. Okay, so
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it was, and they called it Stardust. So I was like, well, I can keep the same vibe of Dank Memes Wet Dreams, but with with a different name. So I went with slightly reassuring Stardust, and then obviously I broke it down a little bit as I was in the community and stuff. So that's the origins there. So even though you're right, it definitely seems a bit coincidental. Sadly, not the reason.
I was like, is this like a Cody Rhodes fan? Stardust.
Yeah, so with that in mind, Hero Mentors details will be down in the description down below. Thank you.
I'm everywhere.
And literally everywhere. Just go on Twitter and he's there somewhere, like in the corner. And
I'm always watching.
Thank you all for the support on every single other episode of Community Voices. I'm really looking forward to part 2, and we will see you all for the next one. Goodbye.